This is the third video of the Wargaming of Warplan Pacific. I am playing the Americans and British. The game's artificial intelligence is playing the Japanese. So let us begin. Now, I don't know, today this game is taking some time to load in. Must be everybody in Steam is playing a game this afternoon, but that's kind of funny because it's the middle of the day. So yes, we want to play. See, it's taking forever. Usually pops right in. Here we go, finally. Okay, now I'm going to show you something interesting, and I just had a brainwave and I corrected a serious flaw in the island campaign, and now it makes islands invadable. When you come to this menu, there's an option called Editor. So you left click on that and it shows you all the variants. I'm going to choose the one I play, Tojo 41. And so you start. And it shows you this and all these areas up here. Now, the game designer had a brilliant idea here, and I have to admit it is brilliant. He allowed, in certain circumstances, players to change, in effect, some rules in the game. So you click on these various categories. It allows you to change all these things. For instance, the days of the turn are set as 14 days. This is minus, this is plus. So you could make it 7 or you could make it 30. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but you could. So all these different categories you can change. Campaign data. Now over here, you can make changes to the units. And so the Marines, just the US has Marines. So there are 6 combat points. And the problem is that the rest of the units in the game are mostly corps. And in fact, the Marines, for instance, invaded Iwo Jima with a Marine Corps of 3 Marine divisions. Well, in the game, you can only have 1 land unit per hex. So you can't have 2 Marine divisions. So in effect, when you invade an island, you can only do it with 1 Marine division, which is 6 points, which means you're going to get beat every time because a Japanese corps is 11 points. So all I have to do is put a corps on there. Or even their divisions are 6 points. That's the same, well, 5 I think. Maybe there's some that are 6. But they're almost the same strength as the Americans. Now, when the Americans invaded Iwo Jima, they had 30,000 men. The Japanese defending had 20,000. So it was 1.5 to 1. So what I did here, I raised the combat strength of the Marine Division to 18 from 6. So in effect, the Marine Division is a Marine Corps. And that's accurate as to how they invaded islands in 1944. So the game gives you the ability to do that, which is wonderful. And then I said logistics is a duplication of allowable builds, and I'll show you that when we go into construction. So I set all the logistics costs to 0. So none of these units will, and these are all the units, land, air, and sea, will cost any logistics points. So all they'll be is the allowable builds, which it should be. So I did those two things. But you can see you have other categories here for the country. You can change things for each country. See all the countries? So you can make your logistics points 0, which I don't need to do because I made all the units 0. But you can change shipyard capacity. You can fool around with all kinds of things. So if you have any yen to make changes when you're playing this game, this is where you go to do it. So I'm going to quit. We get out of here. So you just go in the editor and then you pick the scenario you want to play and you make changes. And then it'll say, do you want to save it? And you never want to save it as the game scenario because you might find out you made a mistake with those changes, and then how are you going to remember to go back to what they are? So you just save it as a different name, like I saved it as Tojo 1941, so I know that's the initial scenario with my changes. If I wanted to play what the game set up, I'd just go to, I think, Pacific 1941. So anyway, you can fool around with that, but this is a great thing for gamers, because you always have gripes, like I did. I mean, you have a Marine division, you should have a Marine Corps. Why don't you put a Marine Corps in there? The game designer actually never answered that, but anyway, we'll go on now. So I'm loading in Tojo 41, which is what we're playing. So it's generating the game, and here it is. Now, I've done all the movement. Now what I've got to do is this stuff up here, these icons. The first one is construction. And I think I might have gone through this. The UK has 81. Well, I'll go through this for the UK, and then I'll just breeze through the rest of them. So here in this first box is basically your capabilities to produce. Here's the production points you're getting every turn, 90. Here's the maintenance on all your units, 9 production points. That occurs every turn. So when you subtract the 2, you have 81 left, and that's what you can produce with. Your oil you need to produce, and you need to move for all of your mechanized stuff. So you're producing 57 oil. You're only using 2, so you got 59. You must have a couple from the last turn in stock. Now, as you build more units, your upkeep is going to go up for both production and oil. So that's why sometimes your production starts going down, because you're building more and more units. Here's your manpower. You only get 5 a turn. It's got 126 though in the bank. Logistics, well, we're not going to worry about that anymore because it doesn't come into play. Your shipyards, you've got 340 points of shipyard. You're using 300, so you're getting close to maxing out. Now, your reinforcements, this is the ability of your units to reinforce in the field. If you've ever played SPI's War in the Pacific, or War in Europe, they're draft points. So I always like to initially set them at 100. Now, you got to realize that your draft points will subtract from your production and oil. So if you get beat to shit in the field and you're rebuilding a lot of those units, your production might almost be zero because you're drawing on your production for these draft points. If you set this at zero, none of your units will rebuild in the field. And as the game goes on, I set this higher and higher because you're taking more and more casualties. And this is true for the rebuilding of air units, naval units, and ground units. So there's a lot of stuff drawing on this number and probably drawing on your production in oil. Now this over here indicates some of the what you have of some of this stuff. Like the British have 0 supply trucks, have 1 air transport, have 40 transports, but they're using 29, so they probably should build some more. No landing ships, so they can't do any amphibious. 2 oilers, 12 escorts, those are convoy escorts, and 105 merchantmen, but they're using 105. So they're at full capacity. If any are destroyed, they'll be in big trouble, so they better build some right off the bat. Now here's your builds. You left click on Army. It shows you the type of units you can build, and it shows you how many of those units you can build. Like headquarters, you can only build 2. Infantry divisions, you can build 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And this will go down each time you build an infantry division, and when it goes to 0, that's all you can build. Small infantry corps, large infantry corps. Cavalry, oh, they can produce Marines too. Cool. So they're going to be supermen. Airborne, mountain. See, mountain, they can't build any. This is what happens when it goes to 0. So these are your allowable builds, which is the same thing as the designer explained for logistics. He was kind of tongue-tied, but that's what he meant, allowable builds. But it's already in the game. So here are your Navy builds. You can build carriers, patrol craft, destroyers, subs. Air Force, air superiority, which is fighters, ground attack. That's your one-engine ground attack, like the Typhoon and what's the other one? Tempest. Then your tactical, which are your two-engine ground attack, and your strategic, which are your 4-engine strategic bombers. Can't build many of those. Three units. And here, over here, it shows you the cost. So if you click on tactical group, you need 390 production. You need 20 manpower. And it takes 150 days, and it tells you here that unit will be ready for deployment on May 6, 1942. And then here's where you indicate your purchase. But you got to have the points. Otherwise, let's say I tried to make this purchase, not enough production to build. It'll tell you what you're short of. And then the support stuff here is just miscellaneous. Here's your transports, your landing craft, oilers, supply trucks, air transport. You can increase your shipyard capacity, but it's almost not worth it because look, it'll be ready January 11th, 1943. I mean, it takes forever. Here you can build coastal defense. You can build airfields. On the map, you can put basically an airfield anywhere except where there's terrain. If you want the airfield when it's in terrain, you have to build it. Anti-aircraft defense, you can build merchant marine and you can build escorts. So this is all like in the miscellaneous category. You call it support. So that's all this is. This is your production. This is like this factory here. So for the UK, we got to build some merchant marine. They're almost maxed out. And what does merchant marine cost? A lot. Right here, merchant ships, 100 production. I got 81, so I got to wait till next turn. So I'm not going to build anything. The US has 293. They have 43 merchants, but that's kind of pathetic. They're using 40 transports. I am going to build some merchants. They're expensive. They cost 100. So Merchant Marine built, and they'll come out June 1942. In fact, I'm going to build 2 of those. I got 93 left. I'm going to save it. I really want to build some carriers, but a carrier costs 624. But I need those merchants. Oh, submarines are good too. 96. I'm 3 short. Okay, well, I can't build anything. The Ruskies, I want to build armor cores at 396, so I'll wait until I get 396. It's going to take a while since they're only getting 11 a turn. China's got 52. They can't build anything. They got to build infantry armies, and that costs 180. Australia, it's got 0. Canada, the same. China, the same. These guys. India's got 38. That's nothing. Now, India. I don't want the Americans to have any reinforcements at this stage until Philippines surrender. And why is that? Because those reinforcements will go to the Philippines if they take casualties, which they probably will. And that's just throwing them down the sewer, because the Philippines don't have a chance. Right after the Philippines fall, then I'll boost this. So that's it for production. Now you go over here to convoys. The British are running all these convoys in these convoy lanes. And they've got 12 escorts here, unassigned escorts. Now, they've got convoys running to Indonesia, East China Sea. Those are all going to be discontinued by the Ruskies, by the Japanese, not Ruskies. Now, I got to check their convoy routes. So you click here, left click on trade convoys, and okay, see this little map in the corner? Let me move this out of the way. Just click on this map and you'll go there. So I want to go like to India. See, you go right there. So here are the convoy routes, and all you do is you hold the cursor on them, and over in this left-hand corner it'll tell you the name of the convoy route. Now this is Indian Ocean. So yeah, we're running convoys. See these ships here? It means you're running convoys currently in those areas. So coming from Colombo, this is West Bay of Bengal. Well, we're not going to be running a convoy. This is West Bay of Bengal. So we're going to be running convoys to Calcutta and probably none further east of that. So we want escorts there, and we want Indian Ocean. What's this? This is still Indian Ocean. Okay. So we're going to see how the escorts change to 1. I'm going to put 6 there. That's pretty strong escort. Was this West Bengal? I think so. I can't remember anything anymore. Come on. Yeah, West Bengal. So we're going to put 6 east. West Bengal right there. We're going to put 6 there. And 6 is really good. So we got 0 unassigned convoys. And the reason you put escorts there, because if the Japanese try to attack them, then it'll screen them off. Well, it'll hopefully screen them off. So the higher the number, the better your chances of screening them off. So for the British, this is all they need for the moment. Now here are your individual convoys. And these go to each port you occupy. You can see this is supply right here. This is oil. This is production. So if you've got these resources like the Japanese going to their homeland, numbers will appear here. Right here for the Britskis, here's their resources. You can see they're getting 20 iron ore. I don't know from who. Well, they're getting 1 from Australia, 4 from Australia. And these are coming from different ports. I don't know where the heck this is coming from. These are coming from Canada. And then you've got supply to Ley, just where I landed. Cavering, there's supply running in there. Henderson Field. And what happens is, when you get a port, the game reconfigures your supply net and supports that port. Now, if you don't have enough merchantmen, it'll cut back somewhere. So if you're supposed to get 80 supply points in Diego Garcia, and when you add up all the stuff that's being shipped, if you only have 80% of the merchantmen, it will cut back. Maybe on Diego Garcia, it might be 60 then, instead of 80. So that's why it's important when, like, I sat on all of those air bases and ports, and the game reconfigured that in the supply system for both the US and the British, depending on what units were there. And that's why your merchant needs go up. So you want to have enough merchantmen to meet those needs. And I occupied a lot of areas there, so that's a lot more supply. It gives you a basic supply, I think, of 60 a turn. And with that supply, you can supply the land unit, plus some naval units, plus air units. So anyway, that's how this works, and it's really slick. It's easy to handle, and it's fast, and it's highly accurate for the war. I mean, this is the stuff World War II was made out of. Now, this up here is when you want to transfer resources. So let's say you want to transfer from the UK to, let's say, China. If you want to transfer oil, you just click this. It'll be like you can do up to 14, gives you the max. If you want to transfer resources, you can do up to 22. So all you'll do is create the trade, then it'll send those resources there. I mean, this is brilliant. Just friggin' brilliant for a very complex thing. And, of course, you need merchantmen for this. You're going to have to ship it. It'll show you right here what you're shipping, and it'll tell you if you don't have enough merchantmen to do that trade, you won't be able to do it. So you can trade with these 4 countries with anyone here. So you'll want to do that from time to time, because like Australia will start crying, we don't have any resources, or we ran out of oil. And so you'll need to transfer some to them, otherwise they won't be able to produce anything, or they might not be able to maintain their forces in the field, because you have a maintenance for those forces, and if you can't meet it, they'll start trading away. So this may look a little more complicated than it is, and I guess there's some complications to it. But it's really easy. Once you get the hang of it, you'll get the hang of it quick. And I'll explain this as we're going through because I'll be using this, and so hopefully you'll get the hang of it. So that's what the ship here is. Now this is brilliant too, because you can allocate research into different things which will give you increased capabilities. Like, for instance, assault capabilities. If you invest in assault, then you can see your guns, your firearms in 43 will remain the same here, but firearms will increase up to 3 in 1945. Your defense will increase if you have anti-tank. You can see your guns will increase up to 3. Your defense will increase up to 3. So when you invest in these, you can see exactly how it's going to affect things. Heavy armor. Look at heavy armor. Tanks. 1, 2, 3. It'll go up by 4. And your anti-air will go up and your defense will go up. So you can figure out what kind of capabilities you want to invest in. And you have so many investment points right here, and you can disinvest, and if you do, you'll get points returning to the pool, and then you can allocate them elsewhere. So you've got to think, well, what is your country going to do? Okay, it'll assault. It's not going to need anti-tank because the Japanese have these Tinker Toy tanks. So we'll set that to 0, and you can see now I've got 3 points to allocate. Breakthrough? Yeah, you're not going to have any breakthrough in the jungle. It's going to be toe-to-toe combat, so we can get rid of that. This isn't, the Ukraine where you got your tanks and you can have breakthrough. Heavy armor? You're not going to use armor in the jungle, at least if you got a brain. So we'll put that in the pool. Interceptors? Maybe. Now interceptors are for attacking, and escort fighters. I'll kick this down to 3. Then I'll keep the escort fighters. Fighter bombers. Nah, those are like the 2-engine Me-109s. That's not much of a That's not a very effective aircraft for bombing. I'd rather take ground support, the single engine Tempest and Typhoons. So we'll make that 0. Close support? Maybe. Strategic bombing? Definitely not. Let the U.S. do that. Naval air training? Oh yes, we got carriers. We want to invest in that. Let's make that 5. Anti-submarine warfare? Yeah, that's important. Let's make that a 5. Large warships? No. Warships? No. We don't care about that. Carrier operations? Definitely. Let's make that a 5. Amphibious operations? No. Really, are the British going to do amphibious operations? Attack submarines? Yes. Long-range submarines? Yes. Now, I want 5 points for long-range submarines. What do I cut back on? Not carrier. Not anti-submarine. Naval air training? No. Escort fighters. Interceptors. Well, I'd say we don't need escort fighters that much, because the Japanese probably aren't going to be allocating much air force to our end. So that'll allow me to kick Oh, it can only do 4. Okay, we'll put 1 in escort fighters. Okay, so we got 0 here, so we've got them all allocated. And I think this is a pretty good allocation for the British. Now, it helps if you know your World War II history. I'm getting cold here. I got to put a sweater on just a minute. It helps if you know your World War II history in the Pacific because you know what each side was doing, and they weren't doing the same thing. The Americans are doing far different stuff than the British. The British never invaded any islands like the Americans did. Okay, so now we'll go over to the Americans. Now they're all allocated, and let's see what changes we're going to make. Assault, that's good. Anti-tank, nah, we don't need that. Breakthrough, nah. Heavy armor, no. Interceptors, yeah. Escort fighters, yeah. Fighter bombers, no. Close support. Not really. You know, if we're island hopping, we're not going to have much land-based aircraft around. But we are with the carriers, won't we? Well, let's hold that there. Strategic bombing, yes. Naval air training, yes. Anti-submarine warfare, yeah. Large warships, no. Warships, no. Carrier operations, definitely. Amphibious operations, yes, sir. I got 0 points up there now. 2 on attack submarines, 2 on long-range submarines. I wish I had more for the subs. We need assault. Do we need interceptors? Escort fighters. I don't see that we do. We're not going to be in fighter range that much. I don't think we're going to have that much in the way of interceptors. Those islands are far apart. I'd much rather put it into submarines. Whoop, I don't want it. 5 is good. Now I got 2 left over. So we got carrier operations, amphibious operations, good. Anti-submarine warfare. Naval air training, strategic bombing, close support, yeah. Let's put it in interceptors, because we'll have those operating off the carriers. Yeah, I think this is decent, and it tells you how many days this will occur over. So you can always look to see here what you're going to get out of it. So I think that's pretty good. Now for the Ruskies, they're completely different. Assault, I don't think they're going to have to worry much about anti-tank. Like I said, the Japanese just, especially compared to the Russian T-34s, the Japanese tanks are tinker toys. Breakthrough, yes we will, because we'll be fighting stand-up. Can we do 5? Stand-up armor actions. Heavy armor? Yes, sir. Interceptors. Escort fighters? Nah. Fighter bombers. Well, no. Close support? Yes. Assault? Yes. Strategic bombing? Nope. attack submarines, no. They don't need naval air training, large warships, any of that. So I got 3 left. So heavy armor will boost. Interceptors. Got 1 more. Oh, we can do a 6 here. Okay. So I think that's decent for the Russians. They're going to be fighting a land army, the Wang Tong army. So they're configured differently. Now for the Chinese, they don't have much here. They don't need close support. They don't need interceptors. They need assault. Oh, can only do 4. You don't need any of this stuff, actually. I suppose they're not going to have breakthrough or heavy armor. I guess maybe they could use some anti-tank against those Tinker Toy tanks. There's nothing else here they can really use. They're not going to have an air force. They got like 1 P-40 now. They're not going to build any, and they're not going to get any. So I'll put it into... They're not going to have breakthrough. I'll put it in the anti-tank. That's a defensive thing that they might use. So, okay. That's it. And that's what advancements are. And what will happen is during the game, things will happen to your units because they'll be upgraded. Like their combat value all of a sudden will increase at some point when this thing kicks in after 275 days or whatever. So things will happen. And it depends how you set this. You can always reset it, but then, you wasted the time. Let's say I take it out of anti-tank, then I've wasted all the time in anti-tank in lieu of something else I chose. So you want to choose carefully to start with and just go with it. Now this was advancements. That's what they call them. And that's this microscope. Then you go, the war panel tells you the morale of your country, your alliances, and if you're going to declare war on somebody. Like say the Japanese were nuts enough to declare war with the Soviet Union. There's only a 10% chance that the Soviets will join the Allies. But obviously, if you declare war on them, there'll be a 100% chance. So you want to be careful with that. But whenever you declare war on somebody, you've got to come over here and actually declare it. You just click on this thing and it'll ask you. It says, declare war on Soviet Union. Or Mongolia. You can declare war on Mongolia. I don't think there's any ramifications. So anyway, you don't use it very much. You use it a lot in war in Europe, but this is where you go. If you want to attack Russia and you can't cross the border, that's why you haven't declared war on them. Now this over here tells you stuff like the forces, how strong everybody is, what their air power, navy, merchant ships are, the escorts. Tells you casualties here. So you can see Japan has 13 casualties, US has 1, UK has 5. US has 18 ship losses, no, the UK has 4. Nobody else has any. So this is kind of interesting with this clipboard. This is where you get this, and tells you the headquarters and how strong these guys are. Now I'll show you that the leaders, or the leaders of the headquarters, like Wavell, he was actually pretty good in North Africa. He's a 6 for combat. That means if a unit is in range of a headquarters, and I think it's 5 hexes, Wavell will add like a +1 to the combat. Because he's a 6, he's a pretty good leader. He'll add to the mobility. 7's pretty good. He may add +1 to your movement. And he's not bad on tenacity. And tenacity is, there's a die roll to see if the unit retreats. He'll influence that, so he might not retreat. And you can see all the different commanders you can pick at this stage of the war, and what their values are. And then you can see the sunk ships. You can see that California and Pennsylvania was sunk. No ships from Japan. And so it's interesting to go here and see what happens sometimes. Now this binocular, you can see what happens during each attack in detail. So like there's some partisan activity here. And you can see the partisans here in China tried to do something, but they weren't successful because nothing happened. There was a convoy attack here, and you can see the Tokayo, the Haruna, and the Congo tried a convoy attack. There were no defenders there because there are no escorts. You can see where it was here, and this red dot will always show you where it was. And you can see it was like south of Sumatra. And they didn't sink any merchantmen, and no escorts were damaged. So when you want to find out what happened in a battle, just go here and it'll give you all the details. Really nice. So it's the binoculars. Now the helmet here is your deployments. So for each country, you can see when these units are going to be available for deployment. Like for the UK, you get the Indomitable on February 14th, 1942. You get the Ramillies on February 14th, same day. You get the Royal Sovereign on February 14th. Hey, Jesus, you get 3 ships. And then this different, you get a transport on March. These are pre-builds, so they're done before the war. So you can see all the stuff that they'll get. And when something's ready for deployment, I think it says deploy here, and then I'll show you how to deploy it on the map. So the U.S., same thing, gets the Yorktown and Saratoga. I think they returned from the East Coast in December. So they get all this stuff, the Hornet down here. So this is when they get it. Bella Wood, Bunker Hill, these are all the Essex carriers being built. So you see when it comes out. Same thing for the Russians. They don't get as much, obviously. In China, they get nothing. So that's what the that's what the helmet is. This, you want to turn the hexes off for some reason. See, you can turn them on and off. This is your logistics. It shows you on the territory you control. Where is it here? Oh, it shows you the rails everywhere. So see, when I turn it off, it doesn't show. I don't know why you'd want that turned off, but logistics shows you the rails. Then supply shows you the supply number for each hex you control. And then this shows you, if you want to see last turn where all the enemy attacks are, you can turn this on and it'll show you. And it'll also show you where the enemy moved. It'll show by long arrows his path on each unit he moved. I find that irritating, so I turn it off. So I can see what they've done at the beginning of my move. And then this is the weather. You always want this on. You don't want to turn the weather off. I accidentally did one time and it was a disaster. The units, if you want to see what the terrain looks like behind the units, you can turn the units off and see, you can see the terrain. Sometimes that's an issue because the unit hides something. These are the trade routes, and I've got them on now. I'll turn them off because I don't need them on. These are the battles that were fought and victory objectives. That's about it. Now over here, this check mark, when you're done with your turn, you can, and your turn is a combination of movement and combat, because combat is determined by how many movement points you have left. The more movement points you have left, the more combat you can have. You don't have any movement points left, you don't have any combat. Simple as that. And when you're done with your turn, you just hit end turn. That's a check mark. Here it's help. If you want to check the manual, this is like a brief copy of the manual. It actually isn't worth much. It's called game help. I wouldn't bother. Where's the manual here? Oh, that's right. You can't look at it. You have to go outside. It's either you can look at the manual at the beginning of the game, or you go to the internet and look at it. You can't. That's just kind of a dumb thing. They should have it accessible right here, but they don't. Now this options, there's two parts of this, the game and the graphics. I turn off the music and sound, but if you're into that thing, bombs exploding and stuff, you can turn it. You just pull this all the way to the right. This is the maximum scroll speed. I like it slower. My attack delay, I like it to take a while, and that's only 3 seconds. So I set it high. AI move delay, I set high. AI attack delay, I set low. I want to see the movement sometimes. I should probably set this higher. I think I will. That'd be good if it slowed down. Sometimes I miss some stuff. I like to see the attacks. Now the numbers on your unit, you can display in different ways. You can, for the land unit, you can have the average combat factor or the operational points, or you can have attack and defense value, which is what I like. So I set that one. Here for air units, I like air-to-air combat number, tactical, which is the ground support number, and then the naval air number. So I like those three, but you can set these other two as well, and all of the numbers will change on your counter instantaneously to reflect that. And you've got the Navy unit, same way. I like to see the carrier size, the surface size, and the transport size. These are the numbers. Now over here, I tend to leave all this stuff on, but you can turn it on and off and see what happens. I like the text at 150 because I'm an old fart and I can't see like I used to. So you can go up and down with this, and you can, well, what happens is it makes these boxes here bigger, and it makes the line on top bigger. So I like them big so I can see. If you like them smaller, fine, turn it down. Then over here in the graphics, if you click that, you can set the resolution of your monitor. And I've got it set up 3840 by 2019. I actually don't have an option on that because I'm using a television set instead of computer monitor. So it's a 4K television, and there's only one setting on a television, 4K. On a monitor, you can set it 1080i, you can set it 720p, you can set it 480 if you want. You have options, but you don't have options on a TV. But my TV is 58 inches. So to me, that's a wonderful monitor, 58 inches by the diagonal. So I sacrifice something, but not much because this game is crystal clear. I mean, the screen is in 4K and it's got a fast processor, so it's like wonderful. And so then you can set it to full screen, or you can click it to Windows and it'll show the Windows line on the bottom with all your options for Windows, so you can go into the internet while you're in this game. The only problem is it'll cover up this hex or this screen down here in the lower left, and it'll cover up most of the map on the lower right. So you can't go across the map with one click, and you won't be able to see the detail on each hex. See, the way this works is if you just hover over a hex, it'll give you all the detail. See, here it says the country is India. It's a main supply route. The hex is clear. It doesn't contain a port. It's got 9 supply for the hex. No anti-aircraft. Now you go over to a port. See how it changes? The anchor is 5. It's a level 5 port. It's got 9 supply. No anti-aircraft. It's a jungle hex. It's a city hex. It's in Bombay, India. So anyway, all you have to do is go over these hexes and it'll tell you a lot of detail about it. But you lose that if you go into the internet. Now, that's a game glitch. They should fix that so these boxes can go on top of the internet box. This game has some glitches, but it's still worth playing. So anyway, that's all there is to that. And now, we're almost done. So I've done everything here. So it's time to go on and let the Japanese have their turn. It says end turn. Are you sure? Yep. I'll talk about things as they happen instead of just blah blahing away like I did. But now the Japanese are going to do stuff. Now you can see up here, this is the AI at work. It's going to give orders to 118 units. Now it's giving orders to them. See how it counts down? 116. These are just naval units. Now the fleet is moving. 114. So you can see the progress of AI. And trust me, it's about 5 times faster than a human could ever do it. See, he's giving orders, and they're executing orders right now. He's got 106 to go. 100. So it's counting down 104, 103. So you can see how long it takes to do things. And he's going at a pretty good clip. If you were a human doing the movement, I don't think you could do it as fast as AI, because look, 97, 96, 95. Boom. '92, '91. So that's kind of nice to see. Sometimes he goes pretty fast, but these beginning movements are real complex, especially for the Japanese. There is a ton of stuff he has to do. I like to make these. Oh, look, now here's snow on the ground. You see the snowflakes? That's what I like about the Uxbridge counters. The game gave you a single big snowflake in the corner, but this gives you like snow all over the hex. I like that effect much better. See, it's snowing everywhere here. Now, see, there's rain out in the East China Sea. See those raindrops? They're like elongated. These colors are much brighter than the game colors. So I would load the Uxbridge counters in if I were you. can see the Japanese moving. Now, one thing that irritates me about AI, a human will do all the movement in a certain area and then move on to another area. AI bounces around. It'll go from China to Japan to Sumatra, and it'll go back to China and maybe Guadalcanal. It makes you dizzy to watch. Now, I slowed him down. Maybe I'll speed him up now. That's why AI is going slower. I'm going to speed him up next time. I like to have them go lickety-split. Now see, you can see the difference between rain and snow. See those snowflakes there, and then the long ones are rain. Now the weather, oh, here it's clear. Now he's attacking. So these are steps that are being lost. Okay, what is he doing now? He's got 59 units remaining to execute orders. See how he jumps all around? But that's why he's a robot. I'm still going to speed it up next time. So this will probably be the end of the move when he's done. He's got 44. Just a couple of minutes ago he had what, like 100 something. Now he's down to 39. He's got a lot of movement in China. A lot more than Chinese. And here, 0-0. Was it the green are Japanese losses, and the bottom one was what, Sumatran losses? I don't know where Malaya. Oh, this is Singapore. Yeah, British got in front of him now, so he's got to beat those guys before he can get to Singapore. But that won't take long. They're down to 0. He's a 7. Now see, he can attack him, I think, like up to 3 times or something if he hasn't moved. But he moved, so I don't know how many times he can attack him. It all depends on how many operation points you have left. And I'll show you how that works as the game goes on. Because operational points are real important. You want to pay really close attention to them. Oh, look, he backed up from this oil field. Well, I'm going to go on it so he doesn't get it. You have to fight me for it. Okay, so what did he do? Convoy attack. South China Sea. He sunk 5 merchantmen. Well, nothing I can do about that. He sunk 0. South Pacific he tried. Let's check the binoculars. Now the first thing I'm going to do, what was I going to reset here? Attack delay, my attack delay, AI move delay. Let's have both of them go with the least delay. My attacks I want to see, but he can go lickety-split. So you can set this as you go along. Now let's check out the binoculars. You can see all of this stuff happened. Like, let's go into partisan activity. Shows you I tried, the Chinese tried something there, it didn't work. Tried something there, it didn't work. Tried something there, it didn't work. Supply interdiction. Okay, he's blockading me. See with the ship off there? He's hoping that unit starves. Supply interdiction. Oh, he's going to interdict this guy. Okay, we'll see if he starves. Another supply interdiction up here. Convoy attack. Takayo Haruno Kongo attacked. Oh shit. Oh, it was outside of Singapore. He sunk 5 merchantmen. Oh, and here he tried an attack. Sunk 0 merchantmen. This is on the, I think this is on one of the protected ones. Isn't it? No, it's not. Oh shit. I forgot to set the US, didn't I? No, I set the US. Good. What? Oh, that's the... I didn't set the US. God. Okay, so South Pacific. Oh, you got to be running... I'm not running any supply there because it's British. I'm not running any supply anywhere except for Midway. Okay, I have to wait till I do something there. Okay, we're going to end it here. It's a minute, or it's an hour in a minute, so I like to limit the turns to 1 hour. But this game is really fun to play. I'm not kidding. And for the scope of this game, the entire Pacific, it's great. Now that I fixed up that combat value for the Marines, I'm looking forward to doing some island invasions. So okay, we are done. And so I'll go over here and save the game, and you save it under its name, or if you want to name it something else, here's where you can do it. I'm going to save it under Tojo. So it asks you, is that what you want to do? Yep. Now see all of this stuff here? I should have clicked on it. If you click on it, it'll tell you what's going on here. So partisan activity there, all unsuccessful. Now these are where he's trying to starve me out by blockade. What was that? I don't know what happened here. This guy's starving. But if you click on these, it'll show you where he must have attacked that guy. Okay, and he blockaded that guy, you can see. Blockaded him. So when he takes an action, he blockaded this guy. Blockaded that guy, Lingayen Bay. Where is this? Philippines? I don't know what happened there. Did he attack me? I don't see anything that happened. Oh, it says he's got low supply. I gotta put this guy in a port. Okay. So, we will quit. Are you sure? Yep. And that's it for